Yo, dudes, it'll soon be Christmas. One chart today. This is from the Bank of International Settlements and it's been presented by McKinsey Global. But the basic fact is it's from the Bank of International Settlements and they don't get things, well, they're not going to get things too far wrong on a subject like Real House Price Index 1970 till 2008. So it's not too far wrong. Right, that established. What they've done is tied everyone together, all the countries that you'll see on the right there, in 1970. Now, in 1970 they might be coming off a housing boom or a housing bust, but they've all have been zeroed at the number 100. So if you go down to 99, any time it's below the price of housing in that particular country in 1970. But what basically all I'm pointing out with this chart is, in most countries these have been the decades of housing price inflation. Now, and if you've got housing price inflation, that's quite a lot of price inflation, because what's been happening is that more and more of the household budget has been promised to pay off mortgages or other sorts of housing, because rents get pushed up as well, obviously. So as this happens, more and more money is being pushed into housing. Now, housing, it's a strange one. It's the mentality has been kind of constructed over the last at least couple of decades. No, probably three, since 1980s. That housing's some sort of an investment, when it's really it's like more like a car, really. That there's no reason besides a great hyped thing or special circumstances that the price of a house should go up, because what can we say? As long as land was available, production costs should be coming down. They should have been finding ways of building cheaper houses. They could level some ground round the corner from you and build a house cheaper with better materials, make a better house than you, cheaper than your house was built in the old days. That should have been the way it goes on. So always houses should be consumables. They should be outgoings, because they have to be maintained, etc., etc. But this great meme has swept the Western world, and I wonder myself why, that it's some sort of an investment, and often an investment for your retirement, which is very strange. Well, I mean, you wouldn't buy a car for your retirement, would you? And they really are very similar things, or at least should be treated as such. Houses should, if you really put a lot of money into its maintenance and keep the maintenance up very well, in other words, you put a lot of money into it, you might just hold the value. But if you don't maintain it well, the value should go down. But we can see that from 1970, in most all Western countries, that the price has gone up radically. Now, we can wonder why, and I think we know why, but the overall wondering is to why the country should go along with this sort of thing. It's such a waste of money, putting extra money, promising so much of the household budget into buying a house, when really the prices should not be going up at all. Some circumstances, obviously, in a restricted area for land and people flooding in, the sale and demand, the prices should go up. Anyway, so since 1970, we'll start at the bottom. Germany, housing prices are, inflation will have been taken into account. The other sort of inflation, CPI type inflation, will have been taken into account, and Germany is the only one with house prices that are real terms lower than they were 40 years ago. It is 40, isn't it? 71, 2, 3, 4. 40 years ago, and this is to 2008. And Germany has had a little boost since, due to reasons. So they're probably on the zero line. Japan have come down from their great boom and are still on their way downwards, and probably actually I think they've leveled off, so they'll be slightly above zero. I'm surprised Switzerland's prices haven't gone up. They've certainly gone up lately since people were piling into Switzerland stroke the Swiss franc, so I imagine they have actually gone up a lot. I would have thought that Sweden would have been higher, so I'm quite amazed that Sweden stayed so low. But the lowness of Sweden is looking across 150. So even in real terms, house prices in Sweden are half as much again, 50% more. 100 thingy houses now 150 thingies, and that's in real money, inflation all taken into account. In real money, they've gone up 50%, which is an awful lot. Because inflation's taken into account over a 40-year. Are they incapable of building better houses in Sweden? Why are people paying so much for houses in Sweden? And then we move on and and this is why I stress this is from the Bank of International Settlements. We've got the USA next, with their house prices were up doubled. But this will be the way the Bank of International Settlements has dealt with it, and have dropped down 25, maybe 30% across the board, and this is 2008. And are now, we can kind of plug into what I've been doing in many of these. What are they? World Economic Newses. US house prices look like they're levelling off, and if the world economy was good enough, the United States economy would, I think the house prices would hold on, start going up now. It's only going to be because the world economies are on a downward trend, and that's going to pull down the United States economy and bring down the United States house prices. So we can think of the United States, and they've gone from 210 to 180. Why should they be 80 more? Why should they not now go back down to the 1970 prices? What's so different now than they were in 1970? There's loads more housing in the United States. There's no reason at all why the house prices should be up there. And that's the whole overall thing that I'm talking about here. Why should these house prices be up there? And they're going to hold up there because the powers that be, governments and especially central banks, are going to try and hold them up there, because the overall economy via the banking system would take a big crashing if the house prices started tumbling more. But it's like plate spinning. They have a natural propensity to fall down. It isn't that house prices have a natural propensity to go up. They have a natural propensity to go down. And forces, central banking forces mainly, or banking forces in a boom, can get them to go up. But generally they have a propensity to go down. And above the United States, Italy and France, and then Canada. We know about the Canadian boom, which has just started to turn now. And what's going to happen? What's going to keep it up? Why should Canadian house prices stay up? Norway's slightly different. They were sensible till after 1990, but I imagine oil's got something to do with that. Australia, a mad housing boom which has started to crack, but the Central Bank of Australia, who seem a very bright bunch of bunnies, are doing all they can to keep it from crashing, starting a spiral to pull it down low. They are now lowering interest rates and going to try and keep them up. Ireland used to be up in the... Did they have... No, I thought they were in the lead once, but we know that they've crashed down 50-60%. And again, you think, well, that's it. You can't go down further than 50 or 60%. Yes, you can. There's no reason that Ireland should still now be, or there in 2008, they'll be further down now, double the prices they were in 1970. In fact, there is definite changes in Ireland that the house prices on sale and demand should be higher, but not much higher. Netherlands, there's no reason at all. I can't think. The Netherlands hasn't changed that much. It's a desirable place. They are productive, but why should house prices be 3 times more than they were in 1970? The UK the same. They're short of land. They're not building the houses, but to be 3.5 times more than they were in 1970, bizarre. And it's going to take an awful lot of manipulation to keep the house prices up there. Spain have started to come down now, but they're coming down slowly. And Belgium at the top, same as the Netherlands. They've got Belgium have got a not very working French part and an efficient Dutch-speaking part. But there's no reason they should be up there at all. And what will happen if they come down? Or what will have to happen to keep them up? An awful lot is going to have to happen to keep them up. Central banks are going to be central to it, obviously, because there's really not much central governments can do. It must be down to the central banks. They are going to have to pump somehow huge quantities of money into the hands of the people so they can afford to keep paying their mortgages, and have enough money out there that new people coming into the scheme will buy houses at an elevated rate from the people that already have them. But it must be central bank action. And that goes back to 1970. What the chart shows is an awful lot of crash possibilities. All of those are spinning plates that have to be manipulated up, because their natural propensity is now to come down. We have had 4 decades, 40 years of inflating housing prices on a meme that it's a good investment, their prices can't come down, but it was never like that. And in written economics, it's not like that. They are consumables that really should go always down in price like a car. Doesn't mean economics is right. But what really has changed to make housing such a good investment from 1980 onwards? Nothing's changed. Not really, except more mortgages have been given more easily. So more people have taken the meme up and bought the houses at elevated prices and forced other people to buy them at even more elevated prices. And that is a Ponzi scheme.